The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the date is set for the Rafa operation as no progress has been made at the Cairo talks for a ceasefire. Hamas has rejected Israel's proposal for ceasefire, saying that it does not meet the demands of the Palestinian movement. The U.S. has denied having briefed the Israelis over a planned operation on Rafah.
I received a detailed report on the talks in Cairo. We are constantly working to achieve our goals. First and foremost, the release of all our hostages and achieving a complete victory over Hamas. This victory requires entry into Rafa and the elimination of the terrorist battalions there. It will happen. There is a date.
The United States said that it has not been briefed on a date for Israel's offensive of Rafah. The State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller told reporters at a regular news briefing that Washington does not want to see a full-scale Rafah offensive. The United Nations Security Council on Monday referred the Palestinian Authority's application to become a full member of the world body to a committee on the admission of new members. The proposal for the referral, made by the ambassador Vanessa Frazier of Malta, Security Council President for April, received no objections from the body's 15 members. Palestine is a non-member observer state of the United Nations.
The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 on the agenda. In a letter dated 2nd April 2024, addressed to the Secretary General, the permanent observer of the Observer State of Palestine referred to the application of the State of Palestine for membership in the United Nations contained in document S/2011/592. dated 23rd September 2011, and requested that renewed consideration be given to that application by the Security Council during the month of April 2024. That letter has been circulated in document S/2024/286.
And Alex Kadir now joins us with more on this story. He's joining us from Tel Aviv. Alex, what can you tell us? What's the latest on the date of that Rafah offensive, which Prime Minister Netanyahu has been talking about?
Well, that date hasn't been made public, and it remains the big question about exactly when the Israeli forces and the Israeli government feel that operation will have to start. Now, we know from the last conversation last week between the US and Israeli officials in Washington, that virtual call, I should say, that took place, that the United States thinks that the evacuation of civilians in Rafah, we know that more than 1 million Palestinians from Gaza have sought refuge there because it had been previously designated a safe area by the IDF. That evacuation of civilians has to happen according to the United States. Israel has also said it is putting plans in place to evacuate those civilians. Now, the Israeli officials in that meeting said the evacuation will take 4 weeks. The US officials said it will take 4 months. Now, speaking to Israeli military sources just in the last couple of days, they think the timeline will be somewhere in the middle, somewhere around 2 to 3 months to evacuate those 1 million people. But the real question is, where can they go? We know that the evacuation of Israeli troops, or the withdrawal of Israeli troops from central Gaza in the last 48 hours has meant some people are returning to Khan Yunis in the middle of the Gaza Strip. But Khan Yunis is all but destroyed, and people say they can't find their homes because their street simply doesn't exist anymore. One woman saying that she cannot reach her apartment because the staircase has been completely destroyed as well. So clearly that operation in Rafah looming. It will be a few months perhaps before it begins, but again, a lot of pressure from the US to make sure that if it does happen, harm to civilians has to be minimized.
Alex, have the talks in Cairo failed? And also, if you could throw some light on how this is being viewed in Israel, Palestine on the road now to full UN membership.
Well, I think on the first question, no, they have not failed. I think you cannot just say failed or succeeded when it comes to these ceasefire talks. It's much more complicated than that. We know that Hamas has said they reject the proposal, but they've also said they're studying it. So not exactly clear where Hamas stands on these latest proposals, which have been proposed initially by the United States. We understand broadly accepted by Israel, but there are some logistical problems. It will take 48 hours, we understood yesterday, so about 24 hours from now, to get a response from the leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar. We understand that the rejection may have come before Yahya Sinwar was able to give his response, so things could still change in the next 24 hours or so. Now, one of the logistical issues is that the deal on the table is that Hamas would release 40 vulnerable hostages released on humanitarian grounds, women, elderly and injured. The problem is that Hamas say they do not have 40 vulnerable hostages still alive in Gaza, so that negotiation will continue. We know the Israelis also wanted to change the nature of the Palestinian prisoners being released. Now, the issue of Palestinian statehood, you speak to Israelis, they say, look, we have offered this to Palestinians in the past and it hasn't been accepted. That is one view of the situation, but to be honest, the process in the United Nations is not front of mind in Israel. The real concern is an end to the war and the return of those hostages.
Alex Kadir, thank you very much for joining us from Tel Aviv with those inputs.